So the last thing I wanted to do with my time off of YouTube is to do more creative things. So I literally just sat and turned into a human amoeba, a blob that just ate and watched TV shows, movies, and reality TV all day. And I am not ashamed to say that. And of course, I was totally open to taking antidepressants. That's not something that I think should be stigmatized.
In the next 3 or 4 minutes, I want you to note how many times it said, and there's no reason to be ashamed of that, and there's no reason why I should apologize for that, and there's no reason why I should regret. There's no reason why I should regret doing that. They say this again and again. In the unedited sources, it's added in again and again. Believe me, I've condensed this down. I can remember screaming at my father, screaming for comical effect, years ago when he came back from the doctor. I can remember screaming at my father, Barry, when the doctor tells you you have nothing to be ashamed of, it's because there's something for you to be ashamed of. When these people are telling you they have no regrets and they have nothing to apologize for, there's something they regret. There's something right now on YouTube they're making a public apology for, and inwardly, subjectively, there's some sense of disappointment they're struggling with.
For me, one of the things that give me happiness is what I call enlightenment.
I have been depressed for like about 6 months. A good half of 2020 for me has just been full-on depression and just ready to commit and live, yeet myself out of this universe. Obviously, I would never hurt myself. I think it's a very selfish thing to do to the people that care about you.
Anna, let me ask it first in the form of a question. What are the different forms of happiness or enjoyment that you have in life? And then we'll talk about how to, put them in buckets or categories.
That is quite a question, Cenk. I mean,
it is, but that's what you got to think it through. Because like I talked about in the beginning, it's not just simple hedonism. Okay, otherwise we'd all be doing meth 24/7 until our teeth fell out, right?
This is not the first depression that I've been through. This is not the first time I've been feeling ill, so this was no news for me. I've never done anything to hurt myself because I just feel like it's a really shitty thing to do. By hurting yourself, you're just traumatizing everyone that loves you. And of course, I was totally open to taking antidepressants.
What are the different kinds of things that make you happy?
so I would probably put it into 3 different buckets. Bucket number 1 is work-related happiness.
Actually, I just needed vitamin D. That's a very lame reason to get rid of your depression. Usually it's like, I had an epiphany, I went to my therapist and I discovered myself and blah, blah, blah. But like, no, I just needed some vitamin D.
There's stop and smell the roses type happiness, where you take a moment to like really appreciate your surroundings and the things that make your life as great as it is.
I'm like basically here for the money only at this point. And
then there's like pleasure happiness. So pleasure happiness is, special time with my husband.
And you're totally allowed to feel exhausted. If you want to take 1 year off of that, if you want to take 2 years off of that, that's completely valid. Not that you have the option to do that under capitalism. Not that I have the option to escape the prison of labor. Working at all is not something that any animal is built to do, or meant to do, or wants to do. Nobody chooses labor.
For me, one of the things that give me happiness is what I call enlightenment. So figuring out what I want, all the things we were just discussing a couple of minutes ago, figuring out who I am, what are my goals, what's my path, and understanding life overall. When something clicks for me and I go, oh, I get it, I'm like, yes, right? That feels great.
Nobody chooses work. All other animals don't work unless we force them to, but all other animals are free, we're not. We, under capitalism, are forced to work, and every need that we have, we are forced to work in order to provide for that need. If we don't work, our only option is starvation. There's no escaping capitalism.
Another bucket is just simply ecstasy. So what you were referring to as both.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Ecstasy is a better word. I like it.
Yeah, and isn't that amazing? Well, why shouldn't we feel ecstasy?
And it helped me reevaluate a lot of things in my life. And one of the things is activism, and I realized I don't want to do that anymore. And I know this probably disappoints a lot of you, but I just feel like I've been banging my head up against the wall for the last 5 to 6 years. I feel like heartbroken, honestly. Like, I don't think that things are going to change in regards to the environment. I don't see like compassion towards animals and animal liberation happening. I don't see ending worker exploitation, ending sweatshops, ending slave labor. I don't see us changing. I think we're gonna continue mistreating each other until the end of time. I'm done trying to change things. I'm done trying to be an online activist and make an impact.
Okay, then the biggest bucket though, the biggest one that is not talked about in terms of happiness enough in society is fulfillment. Fulfillment's a hell of a drug. And doing good things for other people, God, we have such a cynical society. That's why I keep wanting to say, it's up to you whether you want to say it's unrealistic or Pollyannish, etc. It's my gut instinct to keep telling you that, right? But it's not Pollyannish. We are built as social animals. So when we help others or when we do good things for others, it makes us feel good. We're literally biologically programmed that way.
And obviously, like, I don't have to excuse myself for that. But I'm obviously giving you a heads up because if you're supporting me on Patreon for activism, this is not necessarily what I'm gonna be focused on anymore.
I'm like basically here for the money only at this point.
And you shall eat your bread in the sweat of your brow. Remember that? Remember that? The shifting significance of labor itself, the strange inversion of the left wing's view of work. Let's keep in mind, the left wing in England still to this day associates itself with the name the Labour Party. But labor has become a bad word to many people on the new left. And I don't mean the new left as in the 1990s new left. I mean the 2021 new left. I mean Hasan Piker, Hasanabi. He's in the thumbnail for this video. I didn't bother giving you a clip of him saying that he supports the cancel work movement. We had a clip on the YouTube channel just a few days ago. He regards it as his moral crusade to explain to the world how evil and exploitative and contrary to human nature work itself is, labor is, employment of any kind is, right? So this is the next step into absurdity for the left. The same movement that in the past valorized and fetishized the factory worker is now valorizing and fetishizing the social media live streamer, the person who plays video games and lives in a state of perpetual leisure and complains that we live in a fallen state, right? I mean, I realize there's more than one assessment of work to be found in the Bible, but it seems to me that this reflects the same pattern of thinking as the fall from the Garden of Eden. There's some unspecified natural state of total self-indulgence that we're supposedly entitled to, but we ate the wrong apple. Now we're trapped in this capitalist hellhole that somehow it's capitalism that's contrary to human nature and that forces us, contrary to this nature, contrary to this lost Eden, to live in a state of perpetual exploitation and work. There are very basic, very fundamental, and very meaningful questions about the meaning of life to be answered here. And it doesn't seem to occur to anyone who's inside this left-wing bubble that the reason why they're so self-hating, the reason why they're always teetering on the edge of suicide, the reason why they're so miserable even when they have a combination of wealth, fame, youth, beauty, and a life of as much self-indulgence as they could possibly, manage, as they could possibly bear to endure, when they have creative opportunities, when they have an audience, when they have the opportunity to, pursue the type of activism that they were e-begging for just a few years ago. Oh, if only people gave me money so I could build up my platform and I could change the world and share my great ideas with people. And now you've got that, and guess what? You're suicidal. Could it be that all these things are rooted philosophically in this fundamentally mistaken assessment of work itself, a fundamental misapprehension of human nature?